I tried 6 habits to fix my house. Shoes off at the door, wipe the sink dry, one home for every object. They worked. The house stopped falling apart. But somewhere in that process, I found something bigger. 15 smaller shifts that don't just save a house, they save an entire life. And I'm not going to make you wait to hear which two matter most. Idea 7 and Idea 15 are the 2 golden keys that hold the other 13 together. Everything else on this list only works because of what those 2 are quietly doing underneath it. None of them are productivity hacks. They're something closer to a different definition of how an ordinary day is supposed to feel. Not 15 more things to wedge into an already full schedule. 15 almost laughably small shifts in how ordinary moments get handled, shifts so quiet you might not notice the first time you try one. But by the time you reach 15, something will loosen, something that's been unnecessarily tight for years. Idea 7, the first golden key, is backed by research from the Princeton Neuroscience Institute on something you cannot see and cannot smell, quietly draining your attention dozens of times a day without asking your permission. Idea 8 isn't a suggestion in Japan. It's an actual line in the country's building code, the kind of rule most Americans have never once heard applies to a house. And Idea 15, the second golden key, is what Japan calls the 1-minute reset, a 60-second practice that ties every idea on this list together and turns it from a list into an actual life. I'm saving it for last because it's the quietest one here. It doesn't ask you to add a single thing to your life. It only asks for 60 seconds back. Let's begin. Before the list, one idea, because all 15 trace back to it. The same idea that made those 6 habits work on the house in the first place, just aimed at something much bigger this time. In Japanese aesthetics, there's a concept called ma, the interval, the deliberate empty space between things. Zeami, the 14th century founder of No theatre, wrote about ma directly. The pause between one movement and the next carries as much meaning as the movement itself. Leave it out, and the performance collapses into noise. The same principle runs through traditional architecture, where a room is built around what's left empty as much as what's placed inside it. The Western default fills every interval. Wake up straight into a phone, eat while working, sleep in the same room you work in. Move from one task into the next, with no gap between them at all. Nothing is wrong in any single moment. It's just that no moment ever gets to finish before the next one starts. Japan draws a different map. Not a line between busy and free, but a series of deliberate gaps, a pause before eating, a boundary around sleep, a nightly reset before the next day begins. The gap was never wasted time. It's the thing that lets everything else mean something. Keep that map in mind. Every idea on this list comes back to it. Idea 1, the 2-minute rule, but the version that isn't about your to-do list. You've heard some version of this before. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. Apply it to your space instead of your schedule. A dish in the sink, mail on the counter, a jacket over a chair. If it takes under 2 minutes to return, wipe or put away, it happens the second you notice it, not added to a list, not saved for Saturday. Here's what's actually happening when you skip that. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik effect. The brain fixates on an unfinished task far more than a finished one. That dish isn't just a dish. It's an open loop, quietly competing for a sliver of your attention all day without asking permission first. In Japan, this shows up in Seiso, one of 5 pillars of a workplace discipline, used everywhere from factory floors to small offices, literally meaning to leave a thing shining the moment you're done with it. The cleaning isn't separate from the task, it's the last 2 seconds of the task. The shift. A house doesn't get messy because too much happened in it. It gets messy because too many 2-minute moments were postponed at the exact same time. That's idea 1. Idea 2 has nothing to do with your house at all. It has to do with a clock most people are reading wrong. Idea 2. Eat earlier than you think you need to. Not less. Earlier. Picture your actual evening. Dinner lands somewhere around 8, sometimes later. Plate in front of the television, and you're in bed within a few hours of the last bite. Normal. Unremarkable. Also, quietly working against you. In Japan, the evening meal tends to land well before most Americans even start cooking, and it isn't a cultural preference, it's a mechanism. Digestion runs warm. Your core temperature rises while your body processes food. Sleep needs the opposite. Eat close to bedtime, and you're asking a body still mid-digestion to shift into deep repair at the same time. There's a word for the idea underneath this. Shun, the centuries-old notion in Japanese food culture that everything has its correct window of time. Usually it's said about a fish or a fruit at its peak season. Here it applies to your own body's clock instead of the calendar. The shift. It was never what you ate. It was what your body was still doing when it should have already been resting. Finish your last meal 3 hours before bed tonight. Idea 3 lives. Somewhere most people never look. The first 5 minutes of the morning before a single screen gets involved. Idea 3. Step outside before you look at your phone. Every morning, before the first screen, even 5 minutes, even just a doorway or a back step. Outside, in actual daylight, before anything else. Your internal clock is set by one input above all the others, natural light hitting your eyes first thing in the morning. Dr. Sachin Panda at the Salk Institute has spent decades studying exactly this. A phone screen in a dim room does none of that work. The sky does. Shinto shrines have faced the rising sun for well over 1,000 years, built deliberately to greet it first each day, before anything else happens on the grounds. Asahi, the morning sun, was never just scenery. Meeting it first was the whole point. The shift. The sun was never competing with your phone for 5 minutes. It was asking to go first. Idea 4 is almost embarrassing in how simple it is, and it happens in the same 5 minutes as Idea 3. Idea 4. Drink warm water before coffee. Every morning. Not instead of. Before. After 7 or 8 hours, without a sip of anything, your body wakes up quietly dehydrated. And the first move most people make is pouring a dehydrated, already cortisol-spiked nervous system straight into caffeine. Dr. Andrew Huberman has explained the mechanism repeatedly. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine, the chemical that makes you feel sleepy. Adenosine clears naturally within about 90 minutes of waking. When the caffeine wears off around 2 in the afternoon, it all arrives at once. The crash, the sugar craving. The Japanese habit is almost too simple to take seriously. Sayu, plain water warmed and sipped first, a staple of traditional wellness practice long before any of this research existed. The warmth wakes the digestive system. The hydration gives the nervous system what it actually needed first. The shift. Coffee was never the problem. Drinking it before your body had asked for anything else was. Delay coffee 60 to 90 minutes. Idea 5 is going to feel uncomfortable because it asks you to question something you've been told your whole life is virtuous. Idea 5. Rest deliberately in the middle of the day. 10 to 20 minutes, eyes closed, no screens, somewhere between noon and early afternoon. A complete stop. Your body runs on ultradian rhythms, 90 to 120-minute cycles of alertness that repeat all day. Push through it with more caffeine instead, and the cost lands as a hard afternoon crash. A 2021 University College London study found that 10 to 20 minutes of eyes closed, non-sleep rest produces measurable cognitive recovery. In Japan, there's a word for this, and it's stranger than you'd expect. Inamori, literally present and sleeping, a brief public rest tolerated in the middle of an ordinary day, historically read not as laziness, but as proof that someone had already worked hard enough to need it. The shift. Rest in the middle of the day was never a break from being productive. In the right culture, it's treated as evidence you already were. Idea 6 is going to sound like the smallest thing on this entire list, and it might be the one that changes the most. Idea 6. Pause before you eat. Every time, not to pray, not as ritual, just 30 seconds before the first bite. Look at what's in front of you. Register, consciously, that you're about to eat. In Japan, this is itadakimasu, spoken before nearly every meal, usually translated as I humbly receive. The function isn't religious, it's a boundary, a moment where the nervous system shifts from doing into receiving. People who pause before eating consistently eat less, feel fuller sooner. The deeper effect goes past food entirely. The pause before eating is practice for the pause before everything, training the nervous system in the art of arriving, of being present at the start of something, instead of already halfway into the next thing before this one has begun. The shift. The pause was never about the food. It was practice for showing up anywhere instead of arriving already halfway gone. Now, idea 7, the first golden key I told you to wait for. Idea 7. Clear the spaces around water in your home, your sink, your bathroom counter, the ring around your kitchen faucet. Think right now about what those spaces actually look like. In Japan, there's a concept called mizumawari, literally the areas around water. These spaces are treated as a direct reflection of the mind. Standing water, a damp counter, clutter gathered near a faucet, read as small pockets of stagnant energy. The modern research arrives at the same place from a different direction. Work from the Princeton Neuroscience Institute has found that visual disorder competes for the brain's attention continuously, below conscious awareness. Small cortisol hits, unnoticed, adding up all day long for years. The fix costs 4 seconds, one cloth near every faucet. Wipe the sink after every use, keep the water areas clear and dry, and the tab that's been running in the background all day finally closes. The shift. What was draining you was never the mess. It was a gap that never got the chance to close. That's idea 7, the first golden key, the invisible one. Idea 8 is invisible too, but in a completely different way. You're breathing it right now, and it's written into actual Japanese law. Idea 8. Ventilate your home on purpose. Open at least one window for at least 10 minutes, every single morning. A sealed, modern home builds up carbon dioxide, moisture, and airborne pollutants faster than most people assume. Invisible, mostly odorless, but consistently linked in research to reduced concentration, increased fatigue, and disrupted sleep. Japan decided this mattered enough to legislate. Since 2003, Japanese building code has required continuous mechanical ventilation in every new home, a direct response to what's known there as sick house syndrome. Kanki ventilation isn't a wellness trend in Japan, it's a legal baseline. The shift. The air you've been blaming your bad sleep on might just be the air you never let leave. Open a window tomorrow morning. Idea 9 takes you back outside, but this time with absolutely nowhere to go. Idea 9. Go outside once a day with no purpose, not exercise, not errands, no earbuds, 15 minutes outside, no destination. In Japan, this is Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, a term coined in 1982 by Japan's own forestry ministry. You don't need a forest, you need outside, the shift in light, the absence of a ceiling, sound moving without walls to bounce off. The shift. It was never the forest doing the work, it was the absence of a reason to be there. 15 minutes, once a day, nowhere to go. Idea 10 happens in the one room most people never think to interrogate, the bedroom, and it has nothing to do with the mattress. Idea 10. Remove everything work-related from your bedroom. The laptop on the nightstand, the notebook by the pillow, the phone charging inches from your face. All of it, out. The last thing your eyes see before closing is your unfinished business. In Buddhist tradition, there's a term, kakai, a boundary line that ordinary, profane things aren't permitted to cross, originally used to mark the edge of sacred temple ground. The bedroom becomes something closer to a small temple with exactly one rule. The shift. Your bedroom was never just where you sleep. It's the one room that's supposed to have a door your work isn't allowed through. Move the work out tonight. Idea 11 might sting a little. It has to do with what's already hanging in your closet. Idea 11. Dress the person you are today. Picture your closet. How many items in there don't actually fit? Not because your size changed, but because they belong to a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. In Japan, there's a practice called danshari, letting go, in honor of who you actually are right now. Clothes that don't match your current life aren't neutral. Every time that closet opens, they say you're not quite enough as you are. The shift. Those clothes were never waiting for you to fit them again. They were waiting for you to let them go. Dress who you're actually living as. Idea 12 is something almost everyone does all day without noticing it steadily draining them. Idea 12. Give every object exactly one home and return it there every time. In Japan, this is precise almost to the point of rigidity. The term is seiton, fixed position, and when everything has exactly one home, putting something away costs 0 decisions. Decision fatigue research is consistent. Small, repeated choices drain the same cognitive resource you need for everything else in your day. The shift. Clutter was never a storage problem. It was a decision made hundreds of times, and one fixed place removes the decision for good. One home, always returned. Idea 13 might be the one with the longest reach of anything on this list. Idea 13. Write 3 sentences before you sleep. Not a journal. 3 sentences. 1 moment from today you don't want to forget. 1 thing that worked. 1 thing you're willing to look forward to tomorrow. Dr. Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania found that people who identified small positive moments from their day for as little as 2 weeks showed measurable increases in well-being that lasted for months after they stopped. Not because their lives changed, because their attention did. There's an older idea underneath this, named by the 18th century scholar Motoori Norinaga. Mono no aware, the quiet, aching appreciation of small passing moments, precisely because they don't last. A morning light, an ordinary conversation. The problem was never that your life is too full, it's that it's missing the space to notice what's already good in it. Stop here, let that land. The problem was never that your life is too full, it's that it's missing the space to notice what's already good in it. The shift. Nothing about your actual day needs to change for this to work. Only how much of it you let yourself notice. 3 sentences, 2 minutes, every night. Idea 14 asks you to do less in order to feel more. Idea 14. Own fewer things in every category. Not a radical minimalist overhaul, just fewer. Fewer gadgets in the kitchen, fewer half-used products in the bathroom. Fewer decorative objects quietly collecting dust in the living room. Every object you own is something you store, move, clean around, and make small decisions about. There's a design principle behind this, yohaku no bi, the beauty of blank space, the idea that what's left empty gives meaning to what remains. The shift. An empty shelf was never nothing. It was room being held open for whatever actually matters. Pick 1 drawer this week. Idea 15 is the second golden key, the one that ties every single idea on this list together. Idea 15, the second golden key, the 1-minute reset. Every evening, before dinner or screens, spend 60 seconds returning the 3 most visible spaces in your home to how they looked that morning. Counter-wiped, cushion straight, bag by the door, 60 seconds. Here's what that minute is actually doing. A home that resets daily never accumulates the disorder that needs an entire weekend to undo. The dread of an overwhelming house was never about one single mess. It's accumulation, the slow layering of small things left undone. In Japan, there's a word for this kind of restoration, totonoeru, to put back in proper balance, the same root that gives Japan's sauna culture its famous state of totono, the shift. You were never behind on cleaning your house, you were behind on closing one day before starting the next. Those are the 2 golden keys, the invisible drain you closed in Idea 7 and the 60 seconds you just gave yourself back in Idea 15. Every other idea on this list only works because those 2 are already running underneath it. Here's everything compressed into 3 questions. 30 seconds, run against your own life. Question 1. Does this moment have a real boundary around it, or does it bleed into the next one without a line anywhere? Question 2. Does this object or task have exactly one place it belongs, or does it float until it becomes a pile? Question 3. Are you actually present for this moment, or already half a step into the next one? 3 questions, 30 seconds. If something in your life fails all 3, that's the first one to fix. Right now, before you close this, which of these 15 is the one your life is most missing? Tell me the number 1 through 15 in the comments. Naming it is the first step. And if this opened your eyes even a little, send it to one person whose life you've been inside and quietly thought, they deserve better than this. See you in the next one.